ready? Oh, wait for Brenda.
I'm ready.
You ready? Okay. I'd like to welcome everyone to our city council meeting. Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silent reflection. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. For our roll call, Mr. Smith. Here. Mrs. Blazer.
Here.
Mr. Hitt.
Here.
Mr. Hayes.
Present.
Mr. Robinson.
Here.
Mr. Peters.
Here.
And Mrs. Russell.
Present.
All right, everyone is present this evening. And I sent out a copy of the minutes to everyone. Did you have a chance to take a look at those? All right, all in favor of approving our minutes from the last meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, and it's carried. We do not have any communications or announcements, and we do not have any public hearings this evening. Those were all last week. However, we do still have a concern from our public hearing, one of our ordinances. So we're going to move on to our audience concerns, and we will start with Linda Heil. Please stand to the podium and state your name and your address.
My name is Linda Heil. I live at 61 Chandler Avenue. I'm here on behalf of our neighbor, Linda Puckett. Linda owns the property at 14 Columbia Avenue, and she owns actually 3 properties, her house and 2 properties behind her that are vacant and very well cared for. It's like a park back there. So she wrote a letter. She's not able to be here, so I'm going to read it for her. She addresses you as the City Council, City of London. And this is her regarding the petition for the alley closure or vacation ordinance 209-13. To whom it may concern. My name is Linda Puckett, and I own my home at 14 Columbia Avenue. I also own 2 lots behind my home, which are only accessible via the alley between 16 and 18 Columbia Avenue. I'm protesting closure or vacation of this alley, as it would prevent me from gaining access to my property behind my home. I might want to add, not all of it, but if she wanted to build something further back, she would need an alley to get to it. Closing the alley would also decrease the value of my property in the event I were to sell my home and my land, as someone may want to build a garage or other facility back there. In my opinion, there's no good reason, and I echo that, there's no good reason to close the alley, and I protest it. It would also interfere with other neighbors' access to their property as well. Sincerely, Linda K. Puckett. 14 Columbia Avenue.
How does that, if the whole alley was not closed, how would that affect those properties? Like if just a portion of the alley was closed, would that allow access to those properties, you know, or? It looks like you
It's
could
3 properties she has, one in front of the other. If all of the alley beside her property were closed all the way down, she couldn't, and she put another facility back there. I mean, she could put in another house. If that were closed, she would have no access to it.
But I'm saying if just a portion of the alley, like she could access from Chandler, those properties, or from Columbia up to the property owner that's asking about vacating it, that would give her access to those vacant properties?
You know, I couldn't tell you that.
Yeah, looks like that from the
I
map anyway.
My question is, why are we doing this? And why would we only do a portion of it? I don't understand.
Well, the fellow that owns that, the 210 Virginia is asking to vacate the alley, but I'm thinking in order to accommodate him and other people, if we just vacated a portion, like the portion behind his property, if that would allow her to access her property still, or the people that would want to be parking in their garages off of Columbia. I mean, you might not.
I'm only interested in the property that my husband owns on Chandler and
That's 61.
Mrs. Puckett. Honestly, I don't want to accommodate anybody else.
The 61 has an empty lot behind.
No,
The
it's
61
it's
Chandler?
4 lots put together into one, 61. So my husband owns 65 and 67.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Okay, next we have Lester Barnhart. Please state your name and your address, and you have 5 minutes, please.
Lester Barnhart, 61 Chandler Avenue is my address. I own 65, I think it's titled 65, maybe 65 and 67. Couple thoughts. I too am kind of concerned about the lady at 14 Columbia. The length of the alley along her back property there is 270 feet. Moving on to 1B on your sheet there. The property owner, as was stated in the previous speaker, does not want the alley to be vacated. C, although the alley, except for a short section off of Columbia Avenue, has not been used to access her property in recent years, however, it is the only logical entrance for her to access the back portion of her property. I'll get to that in a minute. There's no driveway beside the property at 14 Columbia that belongs to her. There is a drive, but it doesn't belong to her. Should she then decide to build a garage beside her home, she could not access it if the alley were closed. D, the alley between 10 and 12 Columbia Avenue and 61 Chandler Avenue does run through the said 14 Columbia property. However, at its eastern entrance, it is a T-shaped alley entrance. The turn would need to be made. The alley is only 15 feet wide at that point. Turns by vehicles of any size would have to make a 90-degree turn between a garage built 80 years ago and a permanent fence. The alley between Columbia Avenue and Chandler Avenue provides a more straight shot to the 14 Columbia Avenue property. That's further up, of course. Should the 14 Columbia Avenue property owner choose to sell the back lots in its entirety, they'd have a problem because they wouldn't have access if the alley were closed. The applicant for the Valley vacation has approached the owner of 14 Columbia Avenue multiple times, offering to buy back the lot, or buy the lot, the back lot, so that he can build a pole barn. The property owner has kept the back lot in pristine condition for 20 years and does not want to look at a large equipment or a pole barn. The property owner at 65 Chandler, that's me, does not want the alley to be vacated either. The alley is used to access both 65 and 67 Chandler Avenue. 3, the applicant for the vacation never approached the owner of 14 Columbia Avenue properties, nor my property, 65 and 67, nor did the applicant approach the owner. I said that. Okay, so we were never asked or approached. The applicant filed the vacation petition only with names of property owners and signatures from Virginia Avenue and one on Chandler Avenue. That's all that was acquired. There's some other deficiencies in the application listed there. The petition did not provide signatures of all the owners of the property abutting the alley. The applicant recently built a fence that extends beyond the property line into the alley, and it is reported that the zoning office provided a variance to allow that encroachment. Now the applicant has taken the step to vacate the alley to take additional land. If this is done, the city is essentially giving the applicant more land to be a parking lot for his business of large equipment. The applicant owns a home business requiring the use of large equipment. He has begun to store that equipment outside his fence on the 14 Columbia Avenue side, so only the neighbors can see it. Although the alley is not currently used except one portion, there is no reason to change the ownership of the alley. Should future owners of 14 Columbia Avenue want to add other buildings to that east side of the property, they would have no access to it. The City of London has no expense in the care of these alleys. Owners take care of it. We do not favor making decisions for any future property owners. Alleys were built for various purposes, either current or future. Are there any thoughts or questions that I can address?
14 Columbia, do they not have enough room to put a driveway to access their back property?
That is correct. In my view, I looked at it today, as a matter of fact. There is a drive beside 14. It belongs to the neighbor.
To 12 Columbia?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see any room.
Yeah, on the other side.
And I might add, 14 Columbia, that house actually kind of sits up high, so there's inclines on both sides. I mean, their property, so, yeah, they wouldn't even be able to cut in the driveway.
Yeah.
It looks like 14 Columbia, there's two lots that are 14 Columbia, and those are empty, is that right?
Correct.
And then there's 61 Chandler, that's also two empty lots behind?
61
three.
Chandler,
Yeah,
yes.
okay.
Chandler looks like
What's,
3.
where is the access, if you go over, what's the next street that would have access to those empty lots, or is there not any?
61?
Yeah,
61 lots have access through the little short alley that goes from Chandler around to Columbia, but it's a short alley that is not in question right now
okay.
by the committee. by the
Is it
council.
clear right now?
It is clear and available to all that want it. There are 4, well, with 14 Columbia that we're talking about mostly, she has access to it. And so do several others along there, along Columbia, and also my property of 61. So we use it quite frequently. Power companies use it all the time. We're talking about a different alley now than,
Right, yeah, it's a different alley, I just,
yeah.
you know, why make the issue with the alley that we're looking at and say that she doesn't have access to it if it's closed, but there is another alley?
There is another
That she
alley.
can access her property, all of her property.
At the moment, it would access all of it, correct. If she could get the truck or whatever was needed to move.
Seems like we're getting a neighbor's feud, is what it seems like we're getting into. We're just getting into two neighbors feuding with each other.
Well, that's.
I don't think it's a feud. I just,
Well, honestly, neither of them have there's no real logical explanation, you know what I mean? To not get rid of it. It's not an alley, but there's just a feud
Well,
there.
that's kind of, was wondering where that alley comes out at. It's off this map here, I can see where it comes out.
Yeah,
well, that alley butts into another alley.
it'd be.
I mean, if you
is
want,
that
like
5th Street?
61 Chandler and 10 Columbia, both of their garages, that's the only way they have access to their garages,
Is this alley here on the side?
over to the right. there.
Opposite side of the
Right.
alley we're talking
So
about.
let's say they decide they want to vacate that alley, then 14 Columbia would not have
Right,
access.
but 14 Columbia would have to be one of the people to sign off on it, abutting their property.
I think that's where the issue is. Right now, we're trying to vacate an alley that doesn't have everyone to sign off on
Right.
Yeah.
vacating.
Right, everyone that abuts the
Yeah.
property did not sign off.
I mean, I think that's the number one key that we have to look at.
Well, that's kind of
Yeah, they don't have to.
That's not where I'm.
So-
They
They
don't
don't
have
have
to make a
to.
decision based upon everyone, not just one person.
So we did look into this because, as you guys know, when he came, he said that it's the Golden Hill edition, right? And he said that the alley is part of that edition and not part of the next edition.
Right.
And we spoke to the law director, and she agrees that that alley is not part of the next edition.
Oh.
So even if it was vacated, say you did vacate the whole thing, 16 Columbia would not get half of the alley because it is not part of the Glade Hill edition. So 16 Columbia, 65 Chandler have no rights to this alley, quote unquote, okay? I know that some of you guys have reached out to and talked to Jennifer, and we had a meeting and we talked about doing a partial and doing just a partial closure to where you could block it off from, let's see, 31017-3, which is on the side of 20 Columbia, which would make it so that 16 Columbia, 14 Columbia could still access the alley and be able to go in and go behind and hit 14. So, and then 71 Chandler and 65 Chandler, leave that alley open until either 31-01492 or 31-02060. So you could do it a couple different ways, which I think would be able to appease everyone. He would get the section closed that he wants. It would also leave both alley ends open and then be able to access all the properties that they were talking about in question. So I'll show this to you guys real fast, because I know you guys are probably seeing, so this is, what's in question?
But Puckett's, what Puckett is worried about is him storing equipment on
On
the
the
outside
other
of the
side,
fence.
yeah.
Because
Yep,
that's as well.
that's the issue now.
Can access.
Yes, he made a mistake when
This is a driveway.
if he was trying to get back,
Driveway.
why would he do that?
The pulling for the garage. This is all overgrown. You can tell it's an alley.
So does this
When did
alley
they
go
get
all the way through?
Yeah.
Do you know?
Look at-
This one on
Okay,
the
but
other
this,
side?
see, this is Mark's
Okay,
land.
because that's the
Because I
exit.
wrote down.
Because I mean, you can't really see it from
So,
Purdue,
but this is Mark's land, and this is in what he wants to vacate.
but you can't even see.
But he does, he's already got
If
it.
you just closed off,
Is he gonna move his land?
who's requesting it? And he's open so they can access.
Alley's probably this.
I didn't know
Wait a
that
minute,
an alley's part of an addition, that the people abutting it on the
So
other
this-
side didn't
so
have
the-
any.
the fence, okay,
This picture here, I
Yeah.
think it's on,
it's on the,
Grass,
on that,
grass going on right
but his fence approaches this,
yeah.
and the city gave the variance. So she on the city,
Yeah, give him the variance to put it there, when they should have said, no, you can't put it there.
since Puckett didn't want it, I said, well, keep it up.
Okay.
I mean, why have it?
Yeah, well, I went down there and looked at it, I was like,
Yeah, I think,
I'm looking at it, listening.
and you know,
Right.
we all,
if he had more space here,
they owned it.
I'm like, if there's anything we can do
So,
to make everybody happy, let's just do it and move on. We're just neighbors arguing with each other.
nothing's there.
well, if they ain't got no,
It's not used for anything. There's actually,
no, I say, I know.
Yeah,
it's like
right.
trees.
Because it's not even an alley, it doesn't connect anything.
Just leave it.
Yeah, if he had more space there.
Yeah.
that stuff.
So I can see where he's cutting it off on the one side where they can turn right and access this property. Off of Columbia, 16 and 14 and all them.
Yeah.
But where are we
Their
talking about
yard
cutting
is-
it off on the
But if
other
it was
side
larger than
of
all
it?
this, because that's,
But if they had,
but he wouldn't get it all because it's in a different.
No, he would get, and see what Puckett is
Yeah,
worried
he's
about.
saying they can
Yeah.
access, they can get to all her property.
on that fence,
With the alley.
yeah.
And then
Now, if he moves this fence,
or,
is he gonna move his fence?
no, because it,
Oh, okay.
see, that's a whole other issue too.
He gonna move his
The
fence?
city
So just go from that,
Well, he's got his
that
property.
other alley all the way
I will, when we
Yeah.
get that legislation,
from Chandler.
Get to that.
From behind.
I just say leave it as it is.
Property's too thin, Virginia.
Well, I went down and looked at it, I went down and looked at it.
The one that's
First I
penciled in?
turned the wrong way, then I
Okay.
said, oh my goodness, why? Where?
Vacated, they can
I'm
still
not
access.
seeing her, it's like, oh, Grant.
Okay, all right, I see what you mean.
I said, okay, I'm sitting at Virginia Avenue, I'm on, I come down McLean.
Go for a couple more minutes and then we're gonna
I got
go
on
to James.
Chandler, I said,
We're
okay,
gonna
so I
go
turned left.
We gotta
Steve, nothing up there.
Glade Hill or
He said, no, you turn, I said, oh.
If it's all that
And then when,
far
once I
away.
looked down, I said, well, Brenda, you dummy, if you'd have looked, you'd be able to see. So I turned right, and I said, well,
Best way to go.
I think it needs to leave as is.
I think so.
Yeah.
I'm either leave it the way it is or amend it to make everybody happy and let's move on with everything else.
Yeah, I
The issue,
agree.
like what Miss Puckett lady,
Yeah,
who owns 14, I mean, she's against it because she doesn't want to have to look at
Right.
Yeah.
equipment.
All right. Talking about a partial?
Can he park
So
this
the
inside?
whole issue is this, leave, is being access to all this, right? So if you just vacate it from this number
But that's where that's at. The one they want vacated.
to, there's a little sliver right here,
That's where that's at.
to that
He wants
number,
vacated.
this,
That's on the side.
this section will be vacated, and all this will be left
No,
there.
that's on the side and in the back.
So it's really just for his property.
It'd be
But like what-
Right to his,
But
okay, I
what
see. So
Miss-
leave all that the way it is?
Yep,
but then-
this
But
was
what Miss-
the open.
What Miss Puckett is upset about, what she's
She
worried
didn't want
about
to
is,
look at that.
is him setting
Well,
equipment
that's,
on
that,
this.
that has nothing to do with vacating an alley. If someone's
Right.
parking on somebody's
Yeah.
But
property.
that's why she's
or
against
there's
it. I'm saying,
junk or
That's
why
whatever,
she's against it.
That's a whole nother other issue.
but that's why she's
Yeah.
against,
That's why she's against
one of the
it.
reasons why she's against it.
Yeah,
It's your
And
guys'
she-
ultimate
and
decision.
it
I'm just
abuts-
trying to come up with something that would please everyone.
Right.
it
Yeah, 'cause
abuts
that-
her
I
property.
follow that too, right.
Junk, we have
Now, was she also one of the people who did not sign for that too?
What's that?
Was she also one of the people who did not
But
sign?
she doesn't need to
the
sign
paper?
off on it.
And hers would abut
Because
that.
he never approached.
Yeah, so they may need to maybe restructure how they want to do this.
Yeah,
and
they
start
Ending
representing
from there to there.
something different to us, or just get some easements and then do it, or something like that. All right, okay, thank you, and we're going to have next Jane Bethard. We ask you to please come to the podium and state your name, address, and you have 5 minutes, please.
Jane Bethard, Beathard,
Okay?
and my address is 460 Samantha Circle. But I own a rental at 18 Columbia.
Okay?
I came to the city offices this morning and had explained to me, I think what Pat is explaining to you, what the mayor's explaining to you. But what I saw this morning was a longer area that was going to be vacated and not this abbreviated one. What I am concerned about, I mean, with the shorter, or either one, actually, either the longer vacation or the shorter, my tenant can still access the garage. We need that, the open end of the alley on Columbia for both 16 and 18 Columbia to be able to access their garages.
I got you.
So that really is personally a problem. What I'm concerned about is that if the person who's filed this paperwork to have the alley vacated, if he would attempt to either build a pole barn back there or park his heavy equipment back there, which I understand he sometimes does. I don't see it, but he called me. He did contact me before the hearing before, and he told me that he occasionally does park heavy equipment. He never mentioned anything about pole barn. But I understand that we'd have to take that up with zoning if we wanted to stop him from. He's already put up a stockade fence and taken part of the alley. So in a sense, he's already vacated the alley, that part of it where he put up the stockade fence recently. I'm not sure how he was able to do that with zoning approval.
That's a shame on the city for making
Yeah, he-
that a variance.
Yeah, it was a variance.
Yeah, got a variance from zoning. That's why I figured. Well, anyway, apparently whoever granted him the variance didn't realize that that fence was going to intersect the alley anyway.
Where is he talking about building the pole barn? Because I don't see
I
any,
don't think he has room for
yeah,
a pole
unless he
barn.
was to buy
Unless
one of the other
the
properties.
property owner at 14 Columbia would sell him
Oh,
some
right,
part of
okay, I see what
that.
you're saying, yeah, yeah,
So-
I got you.
And then we would have to.
I don't think
take it
that's
up
ever
with
gonna
zoning.
happen.
Yeah.
I don't think 14 would ever sell to him.
Yeah, I don't think they would either. They apparently are not too thrilled with him, but,
Yeah.
um, anyway, that's what concerns me, is the possibility of the pole barn and the possibility that he would have to,
Right.
that he would be allowed to park equipment back there when he's already built a stockade fence back there, so.
Yeah.
So if just a portion of the alley was vacated, like
Yeah.
Pat was talking about,
The
that would still
shorter,
give
if you
you,
did the shorter, vacation
that
would
would
probably
still give
be
you
okay.
access to, both properties owners on each side of the alley
And
to
Mr.
get
Barnhart
access to
says
the
he wouldn't
garage.
object to the shorter
Well, it's not.
section,
It's-
which is
it's his in
essentially
the
just
alley.
behind
That'd
the
be
gentleman
it would be
on,
the alley.
who has applied. It's just behind his house. It would just be basically the section of the alley behind his house,
And then people could
where he's
still
already,
access,
where he's already built the fence.
people could still access the other properties by way of Chandler,
Yeah.
coming the other way.
That's it.
Okay, thank you.
What were the, Pat, what were the plot numbers that you're talking about?
Here and here.
Yeah, but which,
Is it up here?
oh, okay, okay.
And you guys
That's
like
just-
that idea with Pat? I'm sorry, I can't remember your names, I apologize. That would be good for you if we amended it?
Based on what I saw on a piece of paper.
To make it the shorter,
To make it the shorter, that would work good for everybody?
shorter part that's vacated.
And leave the other side open to Chandler.
Right, so then that would leave,
Well, there's two sides would be open, right?
Yeah. So it's
well, that's to
pretty much
leave
just
two sides open,
Two sides would
right?
be open.
Yeah, so
There's
it'd just
a
be the
section in-
center,
There's, then there's just a
right.
section in the,
more or less just giving him his,
Yeah.
more property on what he already has.
One property is
on his back, the back.
I mean, it really is just extending his own property.
Right.
Have to check to see if that alley was gonna be vacated. Did the, when they let him build a fence, gave him a variance to build that fence?
I don't know how the variance was passed with that being an alley, but, I mean, it was passed.
There was one behind my street on a house that butts South Main Street that they gave them permission to build clear across the alley that hadn't been vacated. The same type of fence.
I mean, this one, he's like, barely touches it, but,
I wrote the 4 down, because it's actually 3, and then there's like a real tight sliver.
This is the numbers you're talking about?
Yeah, this little, right there,
right there.
right there after Virginia, 212 Virginia.
I think
Read
that's
it
what
that
it's.
way and say, we're only gonna vacate this, and this.
Okay.
So that's 18, no,
Yeah, I think it's good to come to a conclusion that
18
helps
and-
everybody.
yeah, 18 to 212, 18, 16, 14, 212. And is 212 included in that little sliver?
Yeah.
Okay. So 16, 14, 18, and 212. All right. Everyone had a chance to look at that. We'll keep that going around. Now we're going to go on to our committee reports. We'll start with Mr. Smith.
So I attended the BPU meeting. The water department's looking at purchasing 2 vehicles. They've pretty much got it narrowed down, so right now they're working on getting good deals on them. Their budgets are good. They won't have to bring it to us because of the amounts. The sanitation department, thankfully, so far, new guy's working out, he's doing very well. I believe next week or the week after, he'll be working Tuesday to Saturday. So he's only working Monday to Friday right now, but it should be not this, yeah, it's not this week. Next week, he'll go Tuesday to Saturday, and then we'll be opening up the city dump there. We'll be able to go during a Saturday, which will be a lot more convenient than what it is now, 2:30 to 4 o'clock, Monday through Friday. So that's all I have.
And that's with no overtime,
Correct.
correct?
Yeah.
I just want to stress that, so nobody, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's his 40-hour work week is Tuesday to Saturday.
Okay. All right, Mrs. Blazer?
No, I think they discussed on last council meeting, both Mike.
Okay. And Mr. Hitt?
The next safety meeting is April 13th at 6 o'clock in the meeting room next door.
All right, Mr. Hayes?
Have nothing.
All right. Mr. Robinson?
I have nothing.
Okay. Mr. Peters?
When did we decide on public service, the 7th?
Did we have a question with it or something?
Next public service meeting will be, April 7th, Wednesday.
All right, what time?
At 1 o'clock.
At 1 o'clock. Okay, and Mrs. Russell.
I have nothing. The next finance meeting will be Monday, April 5th, at 6 PM here.
Okay. All right, on to our city official reports.
It's,
All right. Well, thanks everyone for coming out tonight.
it's weird.
The Madison County Chamber of Commerce did a community update, which they released to the community that you could get on and kind of hear of all the things going on within the county and within the city of London. They were unable to have their annual meeting this year. You are able to go back and watch that if you'd like. There's a lot of great information of all the things that have happened even through the pandemic and how Madison County and London as a whole are just marching right forward. I did have the honor of delivering Meals on Wheels for Champions Week. It was a great cause, but they do need people to get involved and help deliver. So if anyone here or anyone there has a little extra time and would like to maybe deliver some Meals on Wheels, Marissa Deerwester, her email address is mdeer and then Wester, WSTER, @lifecarealliance.org. They said that they have delivered 65% more meals since the pandemic started and since March 1st, 2020. So they are very busy. And when they get busier, that means they need more volunteers to go out and help and go out and deliver. So if you have extra time during the day, or a group, or a church, or a business that can maybe pull together and do it, I know they would love any help that they can get. I do want to thank the Kiwanis and the Nazarene Church. Last week, they did have a Easter egg drive-through. It's been tough with the pandemic to get things passed, and the county health department was not going to let any Easter egg hunts for the kids happen, so they kind of thought outside the box, and you were able to drive your car through and get an Easter basket with some candy, and the Easter bunny was there, and it was just a nice event for the community. So I want to thank them for doing that. For those who saw my mayor Facebook page today, we have decided to not move trick or treat, so it will continue to be in October. If you guys see on the wall over here, we have developed a new city logo. So for many years, we have used our city seal as a logo, which is not a logo, it is a city seal, which is the beautiful Christmas colored compass that is on all the city stuff. So the department heads and administration team went through and came up with many different ideas and saw many different things, and this is what we landed on. The House represents our fine citizens and the families that are the backbone of our community. And then the building represents all our strong businesses that continue to thrive in our community. And then we have the courthouse, which is the most well-known landmark in the city and in the county that helps represent our heritage. Now, as you can see, we have an arrow, and the arrow is climbing, right? And that represents our city's continuing growth and how we're going to continue to prosper. And with great teamwork, we know that the sky is the limit. So that is officially our new city logo. So we'll start seeing that on the new signs that we're going to get for the building here. You'll start seeing it on some shirts and stuff, hopefully on some of the trucks. And start getting that out there so we have more of an identity than people saying what's the circle and what's the diamonds about. So very excited for the new logo. And then on to my MOLO fun fact, which is the number 500, which that is how many COSI STEM lunch boxes our city will receive. So as you guys know, we are great partners with COSI, and because they can't have their science festival this year, they're doing a real cool thing where they are delivering quote-unquote lunch boxes, but what they are small boxes with STEM activities for kids. So I didn't want to leave anybody out, so I reached out to London and St. Pat's and St. Patrick's School. And so we are going to get 500 STEM lunch boxes, which are about NASA. So they're going to have some cool stuff about NASA in there. I believe London City Schools are going to use theirs for their summer school program. They're having some programs this summer to help kids, especially with the pandemic and not being able to be in school and maybe need a little extra help. So they're going to save those, and then St. Patrick's School will get 150 for their students. And it's just a great thing and a great partnership that we have with COSI. I'm so glad we have this partnership. And it'll hopefully get kids real interested in STEM. We all know that's the wave of the future. They need to learn these things young, so when they get older, they can get great jobs and do great things and invent fantastic things and just make us all proud. So thank you to COSI, thank you to the school systems for teaming up with me, and they will be receiving those at the end of the month. So that's all I have, unless you guys got something for me. Thank you all.
All right, thank you. All right. And we like to thank you too for participating in the audience concerns. We thank you for, continuing to follow up on the alley vacation. I know it's tough sometimes to come out to council and stand up and do everything, but we really appreciate you and thank you because we're here for you, so thank you. All right.
I move that we go into executive session to consider appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, or compensation of an employee.
A second.
And a second, okay. Let's see here. All right, Mr. Smith?
Yes.
All right, Mr. Blazer?
Yes.
Mr. Hitt?
Yes.
Mr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Robinson?
Yes.
Mr. Peters?
Yes.
Mrs. Russell?
Yes.
Okay, we will now go into our executive session. All right, I need to turn off the camera.
Yeah, not gonna have people in the building, yeah. Okay.
Now I'm trying to
I
get,
didn't know, I got this. I didn't know it was just a bunch of people.
Now we're exiting our executive session. A motion to exit.
Understand this.
Motion to exit the executive session and return to regular city council.
Second.
And a second?
second,
Okay. Just a moment here. All right, Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mrs. Blazer,
yes.
Mr. Hitt,
Yes.
Mr. Hayes,
Yes.
Mr. Robinson,
Yes.
Mr. Peters,
Yes.
Mrs. Russell.
Yes.
Okay, we have exited our executive session and returned to our regularly scheduled
To who?
meeting. And we met to discuss the appointment of our next London City Council clerk. Arlene has retired. She was the clerk for 32 years. She did a very good job. We're really going to miss her, but I think she's going to really enjoy retirement. I talked to her the other day, and she sounded like she was already getting used to it. So the results of our executive session, I would like to recommend that we appoint Amy Reese as our city council clerk.
Second.
And a second, all right.
Second?
Everyone all in favor? Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries. Amy Reese is our next city council clerk. All right, on to old business. Ready for the fifth reading? Get a motion to read by title or number,
So moved.
Second.
and a second.
No.
All right, ordinance 11421, sponsored by Andy Hitt, an ordinance vacating an alley.
Okay, I'll-
Okay, this is the alley we were talking about earlier. It runs parallel with Virginia Avenue. I guess there's been a lot of debate about this. I don't know if there's any further questions about it, but what I'd like to try to do is amend the ordinance so that it just includes the property behind 210 and 212 Virginia Avenue. That'd be the plat numbers 31-01073 to 31-02060.
Okay,
It seems like that would appease all property owners. The person that submitted the petition plus the people that need access to the various properties along there. So I'd like to make a motion to amend that.
We have to,
Okay, we have a motion to amend.
I'll second.
Second, okay. Motion to amend, Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mrs. Blazer,
Yes.
Mr. Hitt,
Yes.
Mr. Hayes.
Yes.
Mr. Robinson,
Yes,
Mr. Peters,
yes,
Mrs. Russell.
Yes,
Okay, 11421 has been amended.
Make a motion to
I
adopt.
got,
Okay.
before we go into that, I do want you to take note that Mrs. Puckett is not in favor of vacating that alley because of the properties she owns that butts even to Mr. Sexton's property.
Well, I think that was because the question of her having access to those, is that right?
No, it's because
Oh, because
she
of the
did, they don't
eyesore
want,
with the
yeah, she doesn't want to have an
equipment.
eyesore.
Can we
about
not
that.
do something about that, though, if it becomes an eyesore?
Right. you
Yeah, it's just like any property where somebody calls and says, hey, this person has a bunch of junk and a
Right.
junk car and a broken down car and it's, and we go out, we take a picture, we write them a letter, tell them to clean it up. If they don't clean it up, we take them to court. When they get the letter about court, they're usually pretty good about cleaning it up. It's just like cutting grass, so, yeah.
Okay.
All right. Okay, so.
So I'd make a motion to adopt.
Have a motion to adopt
I'll second it.
and a second. All right, roll call. Mrs. Russell,
yes.
Mr. Peters,
Abstain,
okay. Right here, just a second. Okay, Mr. Robinson,
yes,
Mr. Hayes,
Yes.
Mr. Hitt,
Yes.
Mrs. Blazer,
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Okay. 11421 amended has been adopted. All right, ready for the second reading? Resolution 13121, a motion to read by title and number.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Resolution 13121, sponsored by Rich Hayes, a resolution increasing appropriations.
This is, fire department applied for and received a Marks grant, and the funds must be appropriated prior to the expenditure, so we basically have to move the money. It's for maintenance of equipment, and the total amount was $1,800.
Okay. It's on the second reading.
Is there any questions on that? There is an emergency clause on this. If there's no questions, I make a motion, we bypass the three reading rule.
Okay,
Second.
and a second. All right, Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mrs. Blazer,
Yes.
Mr. Hitt,
Yes.
Mr. Hayes,
Yes.
Mr. Robinson,
yes,
Mr. Peters,
yes,
Mrs. Russell.
Yes,
Okay, and a motion to adopt.
I make the motion to adopt.
Second.
Second. All right, Mrs. Russell? To adopt.
oh, yes. I thought you was asking me a question.
Mr. Peters?
yes,
Mr. Robinson?
yes,
All right, Mr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Hitt?
Yes.
Mrs. Blazer?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
All right. 13121 has been adopted. Resolution 13221, a motion to read by title or number.
So moved?
Can we get a second?
Second.
Okay. All right, Resolution 13221, sponsored by Brenda Russell, a resolution increasing appropriations.
Okay, this is for the fireworks, and I believe it has 10,000 down there. Is 10,000 on it?
Correct.
But we were going, Mr. Hayes there suggested that we increase it to 15,000. So do we need to amend this?
If that's our wishes.
Okay, I thought that was the wishes of council, to amend this to say $15,000 for the fireworks instead of 10. So I make a motion that we amend it to 50. Is that how it's done?
Yes, it
Okay, I
is.
make a motion that we amend it,
No,
ordinance 13221, increase the fireworks appropriations to 15,000.
A second.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll say, and then hit. Okay, so amend that to 15,000. Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mrs. Blazer?
No.
No? Okay. All right, Mr. Hitt?
Yes.
Mr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Robinson,
Yes.
Mr. Peters,
Yes.
Mrs. Russell.
Yes.
Okay, so it has, 132-21 has been amended.
I make a motion, we adopt.
Suspend,
The second?
a motion to suspend.
Yes, there's an emergency clause on that.
Right.
Too, so I make a motion that we suspend the three reading rule and pass it as an emergency to get this date and money locked in.
Okay,
Second?
and a second. Okay, Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mrs. Blazer.
No.
Okay, Mr. Hitt,
Yes.
Mrs. Robinson, Mr. Robinson, sorry about that.
Yes.
That's it, Mr. Hayes, right?
Yes.
Sorry, Mr. Hayes. Mr. Peters,
Yes.
all right, Mrs. Russell.
Yes.
Okay, it's been suspended, and a motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt?
The second?
Okay. Mrs. Russell,
Yes.
Mr. Peters,
Yes.
all right, Mr. Robinson,
Yes.
Mr. Hayes,
Yes.
all right, Mr. Hitt,
Yes.
Mrs. Blazer,
No.
all right, Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Okay. 132-21 has been adopted and amended. On to ordinance 133-21, a motion to read by title or number.
So moved?
Second.
All right. Ordinance 133-21, sponsored by Brenda Russell, an ordinance for strength on job descriptions.
Yes, this is legislation's been brought forward to coincide with the changes that were given to the tax department. In order to make those agree, we need to change the strength ordinance of the tax department to read either one director, not to exceed one with a tax director, not to exceed two without a tax director. I don't know, is this an emergency? Let me see. Yeah, this does have an emergency clause on, and since I think the increase has already been made, we need to suspend the three reading rule.
Okay.
I make a motion, we suspend the three reading rule.
All right, and a second.
Second?
All right. Mrs. Russell,
Yes.
Mr. Peters,
Yes.
all right, Mr. Robinson,
Yes.
Mr. Hayes,
Yes.
Mr. Hitt,
Yes.
Mrs. Blazer,
Yes.
all right, Mr. Smith,
Yes.
all right, so suspended three reading, a motion to adopt,
Move to adopt.
Second?
second, okay. Mr. Smith,
Yes.
all right, Ms. Blazer,
Yes.
Mr. Hitt,
Yes.
Mr. Hayes.
Yes.
Mr. Robinson,
Yes.
Mr. Peters,
Yes.
Mrs. Russell.
Yes.
All right. 133-21 has been adopted. Ordinance 134-21, a motion to read by title or number,
So moved?
and a second.
Second.
Okay. Ordinance 134-21, sponsored by Rich Hayes, an ordinance amending 242 of the codified ordinances.
The city would like to amend that current ordinance, and that we'd like to add section 16 to that ordinance, be 242-16, and 16 states, "The City of London Fire Department shall be the designated emergency medical service for the City of London." This is just some housekeeping that needs to be done. If there's not any questions on this, this does have an emergency with it.
Yeah, it does. Okay.
If there's no questions, I'll make a motion to suspend the three reading rule.
Okay. and a
Second.
Second, okay. Okay, Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mrs. Blazer,
Yes.
Mr. Hitt,
Yes.
Mr. Hayes,
Yes.
Mr. Robinson,
Yes.
Mr. Peters,
Yes.
Mrs. Russell.
Yes.
Okay, and a motion to adopt?
I make a motion to adopt.
The second?
All right, Mrs. Russell,
Yes.
Mr. Peters,
Yes.
Mr. Robinson,
Yep.
Mr. Hayes,
Yes.
Mr. Hitt,
Yes.
Mrs. Blazer,
No.
okay, Mr. Smith,
Yes.
134-21 has been adopted. On to Resolution 135-21, a motion to read by title or number,
So moved.
and a second.
Second.
Resolution 13521, sponsored by Brenda Russell, a resolution adopting the recommendation of the Tax Incentive Review Council.
These are the CRAs and TIF agreements that the city of London and the school have approved for another year, and it was recommended that they all be approved for the next year, 2021. And, okay, we can leave that one. Is there emergency on that? I don't think so.
No, let's see here. No, there is not.
No emergency on that. Okay, we can just leave it on there for third reading.
Okay, no problem.
I wanted to ask about
Yes.
that
Yeah.
before we go. I assume all those are in compliance.
Yeah, so we have to go to the Turk meeting, which is the Tax Incentive Review Committee. Finance chairman comes with us, the auditor, the law director, myself, the safety service director. The school has a board member, superintendent, and treasurer. And then Jennifer Hunter is there to preside over everything, and David Kell is there with all the information. And yes, everyone seems to be in compliance. One's fallen off this year. And so we all made motions and passed them in the Turk, but then they have to be adopted by you guys.
Okay.
Does someone monitor that, or is it just based on their self-report?
Well, so that's come up about how we
Yeah,
monitor
that's come up.
these. And, you know, a lot of it's done through taxes, how much payroll taxes they have, and we can kind of justify of what they're doing. But a lot of it comes down to, they say X number of employees, and, you know, you can kind of tell how many employees they have by, but there has been talks about doing more of an auditing on them. And next year, we're actually going to have the representative from each business come into those meetings and talk about self-auditing and talk about things like that, so.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, thank you. And we will leave that on. On to Resolution 13621, a motion to read by title or number.
So moved.
All right, we get a second?
Second.
Okay. Resolution 13621, sponsored by Anthony Smith, a resolution assessing the cost and collecting delinquent water charges.
So Carol in the BPU Department Water Office, she's been working with Jennifer. What they want to do is to get these fines, you see the one on there, it's more than $700. This is not even addressing the coronavirus folks that are late. Our water department has a lot of people that are not paying their water bills. What this does, this gives them the authority to collect through property taxes, working with the county. If anyone doesn't have any questions, I would like to suspend the 3 reading rule so we can get this passed and get them moving to the next one.
Will we have to have legislation on each individual one that comes up?
So far, that's what it appears.
That way we'll have to have legislation on each
Yeah.
individual, okay.
Yes, you will have to do each one, and I'm sorry, Anthony, there's more coming.
Yeah,
So,
oh, yeah,
Yeah, there's
more
more coming,
Yeah.
and they're doing a great job down there,
Yeah.
trying to get us paid for the services that these people have rendered, so.
Yeah.
It's not been done in the
Yeah.
past, and we don't know why, but we're moving forward, and we're
Yeah.
gonna make sure that we recoup this money, so.
Yeah.
I believe maybe at the next council meeting, there might be 2 or 3 more, so.
Okay.
Will they be separate or can
Yes,
they be
that-
lumped
they'll be
together?
each
Well, they can
separate.
put them, no, they can put multiples on
On
an
one
ordinance.
legislation?
They can
Right.
put, yeah, they can put multiple, which I did forget to mention that. So the BPU, they have so many people that haven't paid their water bills, and we're talking, some of them are 3 to 5 years never paid.
Oh, wow.
That they did make a motion, the BPU board, they're going to get with a collections agency, and so they'll be offering a discount if they pay it. The agency obviously does have a percentage that they collect out of the money that's turned in, but right now, we're getting absolutely 0, so.
So how does this add to their property taxes? Does it,
I don't know the exact legalities of it, but this will allow the amount to be put on their property tax.
Right, so it'll be just like the legal process to say, when we have to do, someone who doesn't mow their yard, and we send them letters and say, mow your yard, and then they don't, and then after a while, we can contract it out. We don't do that in-house, and then we send them the bill. If they don't pay the bill, it gets assessed to their taxes, and they have to pay it, and then we recoup the money through the property tax.
Okay,
Yeah.
So the,
Yeah, and then if they don't pay it, they go into default, so.
okay.
so the amount is collected through property taxes?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
an additional amount is just collected?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So are we still having issues with people
Oh, yeah.
with the, I mean, I thought there, something new, they shut your water off if you miss?
Well,
You
yeah,
don't
they're
pay
shutting
by
it
the
off.
permit?
Yeah, they've been doing that.
Mhm.
Yeah, they
How
still
far do
owe
you-
it.
Can you get behind before they shut it off?
Well, that's a discussion they've been having. You know, they're trying to, we're not trying to be, you know, as soon as you're late, we're shutting your water
Yeah.
off. You know, they're trying to help people and work with people, because water is an important necessity. I think it's just been abused
Oh, okay.
greatly, and so now they got to step up and,
All right.
Now, you mentioned it'll get sent to a collection agency?
not this, what we're looking into, the other ones are, yeah. So it'd be good to pass the word around.
You know,
if you
why,
don't- you
why a
know.
discount?
It's just the, when you
that-
look at someone 5 years, they haven't paid their water bill, the collection agency, that's just something they'll do. If you pay the whole thing, they'll give you a break, because right now we got 0. So 5 years, we've got $0 from them. It's just another step they're taking to try to get people to pay their water bills.
So then ultimately too, what'll happen is if it's on the property tax, if it's a rental property, then the property owner would be
Yeah, it does go to the
responsible for
property
the
owner.
bill
Mhm.
For the
Does go-
renters
Yep.
that did not pay their water bill.
It's kind of like the IRS. If you pay, they give you a chance. If you pay your bill, they give you some type of discount with it.
Yeah.
Sometimes they'll do that.
Yeah, credit card companies, you know,
Yeah,
if you get so
credit
far behind, they'll give you a discount if you get it paid in full. So,
I know the gas and electric have the program that they can go out through the community action. I'm trying to remember what the initials are.
Is it HEAP?
HEAP.
Heap.
Is it
Yeah.
HEAP? Now, does the water not apply to that? Or I wonder?
I would have to look into that.
Yeah,
I don't
wonder,
know.
because it's a utility. I
Yeah.
don't, but I do know because of income and stuff like
Yeah.
that,
Right.
they can get in that program. And it is substantially, you know, there are some, you know, heavy
Don't quote me
stipulations
on this, but I'm pretty sure that Carol sends them paperwork,
for that.
giving them options, if I'm remembering correctly, but this has been a few meetings ago. I think they do, don't they? Yeah, so this is
Okay.
people just being completely negligent because they get the information, all they have to do is apply. They're not even applying, they're not
Oh,
even,
for the
there's no
heat,
effort.
okay, yeah, because I
Yeah.
I didn't know if the water.
I don't know if it's HEAP, but, yeah, it's
What's,
not
it's,
HEAP.
I don't, that doesn't sound right, does heat, does,
Well, no, the HEAP is one.
is that one of-
But
yeah.
the
Through
water is
community action?
different. Yeah,
that's just gas
Yeah.
and electric?
yeah. Because there's even churches, I think, that will help people and they can go through that and they get that information. They're just not doing it.
Anthony's totally right. We do not go the day after
Yeah,
the
yeah.
21st,
Right.
everybody off.
Right.
But there has to be a point where we have to do something,
Yeah.
at some point we have to.
And not trying to
All right.
maintenance or get
Yeah.
themselves out of the hole that we have to do something.
Yeah.
Right.
If I'm understanding everything correctly with the new meters, because right now there's a cost, you know, every time we shut somebody's water off, there is a cost of someone doing that. With the new meters, that'll be quite different, so.
And so they do, because if we can collect, sometimes if it gets just so far behind, if we can collect some of it,
Yes.
like, is better
Yeah.
than nothing. And
Now, like this here, this individual, we should be able to collect that full amount, just over $700 through their property taxes.
yeah,
So they're just doing a lot of house cleaning and trying to get these things straightened up.
okay.
Okay. And what are our wishes here?
If anyone doesn't have any questions, I'd like to suspend the 3 reading rule for Resolution 13621.
I second.
And second? Okay. Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mrs. Blazer?
Yes,
Mr. Hitt?
Yes.
Mr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Robinson?
Yes.
Mr. Peters?
Yes.
All right. Mrs. Russell?
Yes,
Okay. And then a motion to adopt?
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Okay. All right, Mrs. Russell?
Yes.
Mr. Peters?
Yes.
Mr. Robinson?
Yes.
Mr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Hitt?
Yes.
Mrs. Blazer?
Yes.
All right, and Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Okay. 13621 has been adopted. On to Resolution 13720, a motion to read by title or number.
So moved.
Second.
All right, Resolution 13720, sponsored by Brian Robinson, a resolution authorizing the Safety Service Director to participate in contracts of the State of Ohio Department of Transportation.
This is just basically allowing the street department to purchase salt. Does anyone have any questions? It's pretty cut. Right. If there's no questions, I'd like to suspend the 3 reading rule.
Okay?
Second.
Okay, Russell.
I'll second.
All right, Mrs. Russell?
Yes.
Mr. Peters?
Yes.
Mr. Robinson?
Yes.
Mr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Hitt?
Yes.
Mrs. Blazer?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Okay. And a motion to adopt?
I'll make a motion to adopt.
I'll second.
Okay, Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mrs. Blazer?
Yes.
Mr. Hitt?
Yes.
Mr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Robinson?
Yes.
Mr. Peters?
Yes.
Mrs. Russell?
Yes.
Okay. 13720 has been adopted. On to our new business, Resolution 13821, a motion to read by title or number.
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Resolution 13821, sponsored by Josh Peters, a resolution increasing appropriations.
Yeah, this is money to offer a new gate there at the pool. That way they have access, get vehicles in and out of there.
Okay. Anyone have any questions?
I didn't hear what he said.
It's put a new gate at the swimming pool so they can get trucks and so forth into the pool grounds.
Oh, okay.
Where is that off of, which street's off of?
It's going to come off of Park Avenue.
Oh, okay.
Okay, gate from Park.
Yep.
So there's a big issue trying to get equipment in there, and I don't know who's been to the pool or worked at the pool, but there's a lot of heavy stuff in real bad places in there. And if you don't have the right equipment, trying to get some of this stuff out of the basement and do different things is very difficult. So this will make it a lot easier on Tammy, on Bill, on the street department, on the rec department to be able to do these things that are necessary to keep the pool up and running. And Bill was nice enough to do this because he already had this money appropriated at one point for a project that he did, and this was the money that was left over.
Okay. All right, so you're,
Does anybody have any other questions? If not, move to suspend the 3 reading rule.
Second.
all right, Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mrs. Blazer?
Yes.
Mr. Hitt?
Yes.
Mr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Robinson?
Yes.
Mr. Peters?
Yes.
Mrs. Russell?
Yes.
Okay, and a motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt.
All right.
Second.
Second, Russell, all right. All right, Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mrs. Blazer?
Yes.
All right, Mr. Hitt?
Yes.
Mr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Robinson?
Yes.
Mr. Peters?
Yes.
And Mrs. Russell?
Yes.
All right, 13821 has been adopted. On to roundtable, we'll start with Mrs. Russell.
Just to remember, the finance meeting is the 5th at 6 o'clock.
All right, Mr. Peters?
Want to welcome Amy to new position, clerk of council. That next public service meeting will be, what I say, April,
The second Wednesday?
what's normally the
Did
second,
we,
but,
are we moving it?
yeah, it's going to be the 7th,
Yeah, that's right.
April 7th at 1 PM.
All right, Mr. Robinson?
Just welcome Amy, and that's all I got.
All right, Mr. Hayes?
I'd like to thank all the city employees for jobs well done, all departments. Amy, welcome to your new position, well-deserved. I'd like to take a minute to remember somebody. Breck Michael passed away. I believe he worked for the city of London for a while, and he was a good man from what I understand. I knew of him a little bit, didn't have a lot of interaction with him, but seemed like a good family, and we appreciate all he did for the city and for the county, and he'll be missed, and we appreciate him. That's all I got.
All right, Mr. Hitt.
Congratulations, Amy, to your appointment. Appreciate all your dedication to the city and everything you've done along the way. So look forward to having you as the clerk. And did you announce the safety meeting? Safety meeting's the 13th at 6 o'clock in the meeting room over here.
Correct.
All right, Mrs. Blazer.
Congratulations, Amy. I'm sure, we know that you'll do a fine job. And I wanted to thank the citizens that came to the meeting and expressed their opinions. We enjoy hearing from our constituents so that we can do a better job at making everybody happy. So I'd like to thank them, and everybody just, keep on the right path of being safe and being nice.
All right, Mr. Smith.
First, I'd like to congratulate Amy. I think you do a great job. Thank everyone for coming tonight. I want to thank the administration on the alley vacation. I think that was a great solution to the problem to help out with everybody. So thank you for that. The next BPU meeting will be April 22nd.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, so just to reiterate what you two said at the end, I think you're absolutely right. So they came in and they had an issue, and for us to be able to work through all the problems to, come to a middle ground for everybody, where maybe not everybody's 100% happy, but everybody can kind of live
Pretty
with it
close.
and say, okay, they got what they wanted, we got what we wanted. And, that's kind of what this is about sometimes. Also want to thank you guys. I know Rich was a huge part in it at the last meeting about changing the fireworks from $10,000 to $15,000. For such a small portion of our overall budget, to add that $5,000 really does mean a lot to the citizens. And I've already had people reach out to me and thank me and thank you guys for doing that, because you were absolutely right, Rich, when you said people need something, right? We need something. We need just to sit back and stare at the sky, right? And if we can do that for, instead of 20 or 25 minutes, be able to do it for 35 minutes or whatever, just that little extra bit, sitting there with your family, being able to watch those fireworks go off is just an amazing thing. So I want to thank you and thank Brenda for amending it and you guys passing it, because I think it is a huge thing for our community. So thank you all for that.
All right, thank you. And just like to also congratulate Amy as becoming our next council clerk. We know that she'll do a good job. She's already stepped in for many different facets of that position that'll need to be covered. Also, just like to thank again for bringing the legislation to increase the fireworks. That is really going to help to bring a sense of normalcy when the 4th of July comes and the families can sit and everybody gets together. It's a huge thing, because that's one of the things that the city does, so we're going to make it even better. Really glad to hear about that. We do all work together to make this city better, and that's what we do. That is our job, and that's what we were elected to do. Is we may not be able to get every single thing that we want, but we work together, and it becomes a win for everyone. That's what we want to do, make the best decision. That's a win for everyone. So if there's nothing else, a motion to adjourn.
Got a motion to adjourn?